says, oh, to know the height and the depth and the length and the breadth of God's love. This is the kind of love that Jesus displays in this text. Despite what the culture said, despite what the Jewish people said about Samaritans, Jesus says, I must needs go through Samaria. Jesus loved this woman so much that he would reach beyond social norms and stigmas and stereotypes to save her. John 3:16 describes it best as it could, the unlimited love of God. It says, for God so loved the world. How can you measure so loved? And this is what we see in the text today. We see a love that is so wide and so broad and so strong that it would travel into unfamiliar territory, unwanted territory, uncharted territory to see about this woman. It is a love that moves beyond the familiar and confronts the unfamiliar. It moves beyond the norm and confronts the abnormal. Jesus says to his disciples, I must needs go through Samaria. I know we're doing well in Judah. I know our population has gone far and wide. I know we've baptized more people than John the Baptist, but there is a greater need in Samaria. There's a daughter in Samaria who needs my help. There's a young man or woman who's tied up in a gang or strung on drugs in Samaria. There's a boy or girl who's dropped out of school in Samaria. There's someone who's about to take his life in Samaria. There's a boy or girl who's caught up in the worldly peer pressure of hip-hop and bebop in Samaria. There's a boy or girl who's HIV positive. There's a boy or girl who's deep in sin, who's tangled up in the evil trappings of the world in Samaria. Aren't you glad that Jesus is willing to reach beyond the barriers for you? Jesus is willing to leave his popular ministry, leave his comfort zone to see about you. Aren't you glad that Jesus is willing to risk his life and go through hell and high water to come see about you? He is willing to come into unfamiliar territory, unwanted territory, just to see about you. That's love. And some of us won't even go down the street, or won't even go next door to see about our family members or our friends. Jesus is challenging us this Lenten season to reach beyond the norm, reach beyond our comfort zone, beyond the barriers of life, and help the last, the least, the lost, and the left out. And really, Jesus is saying to us in the church, we need to reach beyond these consecrated walls to help the lost. Look at the life and ministry of Jesus as he compels his disciples to go into Samaria. Perhaps we, the church of the modern era, can learn something from Jesus and his disciples in the text. Perhaps we have been toiling in our comfort zone long enough. And like the disciples, Jesus is saying to us that there is much work to be done on the other side of these consecrated walls. There are many needs to be met on the other side of these consecrated walls. There are some bound and some depressed and some demoniacs that need to be delivered on the other side of these walls. And so Jesus says, let us go into Samaria of our day to save those who are lost in our community and in our city. Why does Jesus compel us to go through Samaria? Why did Jesus compel his disciples to go through Samaria? What caused Jesus to go through Samaria? Number one, Jesus sees the potential for good and greatness in every human being. All we see is a woman with a shabby lifestyle. But Jesus sees a potential evangelist who will tell others about him. All we see is a woman who had 5 husbands, and the one she has now is not even hers. But Jesus sees a Jasmine Scarlock nationally known preacher. Jesus sees a Joyce Meyer preaching to a whole city. We, like Jesus, must see the divine human worth in every human being. Many people counted this woman out, wrote this woman off as a lowlife in society. They wrote her off as a nobody who will never amount to anything. They turned up their nose against her. They complained about her. They criticized her. They disdained her. They disassociated her. That's why she's coming to the well in the heat of the day. But Jesus saw the evangelist in her, the good in her, the witness upon her life. We must be like Jesus and look beyond their faults and see the divine human worth in them. Jesus saw a citywide evangelist. I can imagine Jesus' disciples murmuring and complaining under their breath. Man, Jesus, you brought us all the way out here to see this, to come to this adulterous woman, to talk to a woman who's of Samaria. You know Jews have no dealings with Samaria. Jesus, we were doing fine with the crowd in Judah. You left the favorable ministry for this one woman? Jesus says to them, you don't know who this is. You don't see what I see. I see an awesome evangelist. This woman holds the key to saving the whole city. This woman is about to set off a spiritual explosion, a spiritual revival that's about to sweep across the city of Sakar. Many of you were written off by others. You were looked down upon by others. You were despised by others. But aren't you glad that Jesus saw more in you what others did? Aren't you glad that Jesus looked beyond your fault and saw your needs? Aren't you glad that Jesus saw your potential, saw your God-given call upon your life, saved you, molded you, delivered you, and set you free so that you can be a blessing to others? Aren't you glad that when others wrote you off as a nobody, Jesus wrote your name on the Lamb's Book of Life? Aren't you glad that when others counted you out, Jesus counted you in? Aren't you glad that when you almost lost your mind, Jesus clothed you in your right mind? Aren't you glad when others saw you as a misfit and a mess, Jesus saw you as a minister and a miracle? Aren't you glad that Jesus came through your town into your life to save you and set you free? He sees your potential. He sees the good in you. He sees God's greatness in you. I feel like preaching right here. Secondly, Jesus reached beyond the barriers to get to this Samaritan woman because Jesus saw a common human need. Water. A common human need. Don't we all need water? Look at Jesus. Just like we need water, we all need Jesus. Just like we need water, we all need Jesus. Jesus said to the woman, if you knew the gift of God, and if you knew God's gift of salvation and who it is that asks, give me a drink, you would have asked him, give me, and he would have given you living water.